Hey folks, how we doing? It is, I don't know what day it is in your part of the world, but I think it's March 3rd. I think it's Wednesday here in Bozeman, Montana. I've been so busy that I really haven't had a chance to think about it. It's just another day. When I get up and saw on the calendar, hey Randy, you gotta do Elk Talk Live tonight, I'm like, whew, finally, I get to do another live event. I'm one of the few people who do what I do who loves this live event stuff. I think it's so much fun because I get to interact with all of you. And if I make a stupid mistake or say something really stupid, there's no net. There's no editing this out. You all get to hear it, see it, and make fun of me. And that, I don't know, that makes it kind of fun. So appreciate y'all being here. Apologize for last week. We were going to do Elk Talk Live, but that day I woke up really sick, and so we canceled. But we're here today, and a bunch of people asked questions out here on Instagram, on Facebook, and now a bunch of you are asking questions already in the live stream. And I know this is Elk Talk Live, and we're going to talk about a lot of elk questions. But there's an amazing number of questions about legislative issues that are popping up in the West right now. So I think we're going to have to talk about some of them because they affect elk hunting. So don't like talking politics if I can help it, but we may not have any choice for the next, at least till these legislatures decide they've done enough damage and it's time to go home. But anyhow, let's quickly thank all the folks that make this possible. GoHunt.com, got one of their hats right here. If your applications are as voluminous as Paul and Jonathan and me and everyone else in this office, you'll probably get some benefit from GoHunt in their insider. Use promo code Randy, save $50 or get $50 in their gear shop. Gerber. Right here, the Randy Newberg knives. If you want to buy them, go to gerbergear.com. Save yourself some money. Don't pay full retail, right? If you go there and use promo code Randy, they're going to give you 20% off those knives. So, and we'll get to some of these other great companies like Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls and all of them, Loophole, the whole works. We'll get to some of them throughout the night. But just know wherever you go, use promo code Randy. Let's see. Where do we want to start? Someone says they're watching Fresh Tracks right now. Thanks. What do I owe you? I guess I owe you a Dairy Queen when you come to Bozeman. We're building a new office building, but we're going to be further from Dairy Queen in the new office building. That's not good. Well, maybe it is good. Maybe I won't get as fat over the summer. Let's see. You people, quit it. If you guys ask me some of these questions that are going to get me in trouble, I'm not going to answer them. My wife watches this every once in a while, and it could be bad for me. But I want to make sure. Oh, deadlines. Let's touch on those before we get too far down the road. Utah, tomorrow is the deadline in Utah. I know it's expensive. The draw odds are low, so it may not be on your list. New Mexico, March 17th. New Mexico doesn't have a point system, so you can jump in and out each year as your budget allows. No problems. No penalty because there's no point system. Gotta like that. Montana, April 1st. Colorado, April 6th. And then after that, we'll have, let's see, Nevada, Idaho, and then we'll kind of be through most of the western states. So, but don't miss those. Those are important deadlines because first thing you go hunting, you need a tag, right? No tag, no hunt. Unless you're that dude. Didn't some guy get busted in Colorado really bad? It made all the headlines here the last week. All right, I'm gonna jump onto this question because so many questions on Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube are asking. Wyoming has a bill, I think it's Senate Bill 103, and it's going to take the non-resident allocation for deer, elk, antelope, moose, goat, sheep, all the other things, and bring it in line with most of the other states. So Wyoming is the second most generous state to non-residents right now after Colorado. Colorado's the most generous. Wyoming isn't too far behind. So in elk hunting, here's how it works. We get 16%, as non-residents, we get 16% of the limited entry tags. But we are statutorily, by law, given a total of 7,250 non-resident elk tags. So whatever percentage or whatever number that 16% equates to, the difference to get up to 7,250 is given in what are called general tags. Well, this bill would take that 16% of limited entry tags and drop it to 10%. So 90% would go to residents, 10% to non-residents. So now that amount that we make up, or that they make up to get to the 7,250, would be more general tags. So non-residents would still get 7,250 elk tags in the draw. It's just fewer of them would be the limited entry tags, and more of them would be general tags. And that's how it applies, how it would affect the elk side of it. Deer and antelope, those percentages they give us are a lot higher. So if they drop that down to 10%, you're going to see a big change in those tag numbers to non-residents. I believe moose, goat, and sheep and bison, they're given 20% right now. That had dropped to 10%. So it's creating a lot of consternation because a lot of people have grown accustomed to Wyoming's generosity to non-residents. I'm in a state where we don't guarantee you 10%. We say up to 10% here in Montana. So Wyoming, if this passes, and I think it will know, I think it's going to be in committee tomorrow. That's one part of it. The other part of it is a huge fee increase. And that's the one that I'm okay with states doing whatever they're going to do, right? Would be pretty hypocritical for me to be in a state with 10% given to non-residents and complain about a state like Wyoming moving down to 10% for non-residents. So I'm not going to make that case that it's unfair, even though I wish it didn't happen. Don't get me wrong, I love hunting Wyoming. But I do worry about these fee increases. Every state is just cranking up the fees, cranking up the fees, cranking up the fees. Utah, big fee increase this year. Idaho, big fee increase this year. Colorado has a CPI built in, so their fees just go up a little bit every year. I think that's a smarter way to do it. But these big fee increases it prices some people out of the game. And we can get into how people spend their personal money and everything else, but I just don't like hunting to be a function of how much money you have. And I understand that if you live somewhere and to travel out west, it's expensive anyhow, and a fee increase in the tag probably isn't the make or break, but maybe it is. So I'm looking at the Wyoming bill, and I fully understand why Wyoming residents want that. And I guess we'll see what happens there. For me, when I've went to my state legislature many times and said, we need a resident fee increase. And now all the Montana guys out here, or gals out here, are going to say, Newberg, shut up. Montana doesn't need a fee increase for residents. Yeah, it does. Yeah, for those of you who live in other states, Montana, we have a license year that goes from March 1st, just 2 days ago, to February 28th. I went down there the other day. I was the first person in line to get my new license. I got elk, deer, my general hunting license, fishing, black bear, trapping. I said, give me one of everything. And I added $20 as a donation on top of the, what do you call it, it goes to Hunters for the Hungry, I think. And my total came to all of $122 for all that. I get to hunt and fish 365 days. I guess I can't hunt anything from June 15th to about August 15th. The other 10 months of the year, there's something to hunt. I can fish all year round, and it's $102. We, as residents of the western states, need to think about the disproportionate fees that we're charging non-residents. I know people are going to think that I've lost my mind, but I don't see how we can continue putting all of the weight, all the burden on the non-resident for funding the license revenues that come from hunting. And here's what happens. We as residents complain, well, why does everyone listen to the non-residents? Why? Because they're paying most of the freight. So if residents want to not have their voice diluted as much, we're going to have to start paying more. And I know that's not what people want to hear. But it's crazy that I can do all those things I rattled off for $102. And my buddy Bo Beatty in Idaho, who applies here as a non-resident in Montana, it costs him $1,100 and something, $1,120, and he's not even sure he's going to get the tag. Anyhow, yeah, a lot of you had asked about the Wyoming bill. We're going to find out about the Wyoming bill probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, sometime this week, I think it's going to be voted on in their committee. And I'd wait and see what happens before you get too wound up, because once it gets out of committee, then it'll go to a full vote in their Senate. And then passes there, it'll go over to the House. But what it is when, a state like Wyoming is as generous as it is, they're deciding that we're going to get in line with the rest of the states. You can't really fault them for that, or I don't. I know some people will be like, yeah, I can. I don't fault them for that. Under a little history of how it is that wildlife is a state purview, even if it lives on private land or federal land. How that works is there was a court case in the United States Supreme Court in 1842 called Martin versus Waddell. And in that court case, it was about a person digging shellfish or getting shellfish along the tide flats. And the landowner said, hey, I own all that tide flat, you can't be out there. Well, it goes to court, and the court ruled that wildlife in the United States is held in trust for the citizens of that state, that it's not owned by anybody, that your state is your trustee in holding the wildlife within your boundaries. And you, as a citizen, are a beneficiary of that trust arrangement. So the folks in North Dakota, I just live, we're on a border with each other. The wildlife in North Dakota is not held in trust for all citizens of the country. So me as Montana, we're right next door, I have really no say in what goes on in North Dakota. The trustees for the wildlife in North Dakota are accountable to the beneficiaries of that state, not of the people of the whole country. That's what that court case ruled. And since then, there's been many more U.S. Supreme Court cases that ruled that wildlife is held in trust by the state for its citizens. So that's, you go to that case law, and that's why the Supreme Court, and there is a case called Baldwin versus Montana, where they sued Montana to say you can't charge disproportionate fees. And I think that was in 78 or 79. An attorney right here in Bozeman, who I've hired before, Jim Getz, heard that case, or he represented the state of Montana at the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, look, hunting is not commerce. It is not subject to all the equal protection clauses and everything else, and therefore states can discriminate. It may not be what we want to hear, but it's what the law of the land is by the U.S. Supreme Court. So anyhow, that's a long dissertation about why Wyoming can do whatever they want, and technically any opportunity they give us as non-residents is more than they're required to give us. I don't think it's good for the big picture of hunting to price people out, or when states go to 0%, 3%, 2%. I don't think that's helpful, but every state's going to do what they're going to do. Anyhow, then we got Montana. We'll come back to Montana in a little bit. Montana, oh gosh, a few years ago we said the Montana legislature couldn't get any crazier when it comes to wildlife bills. Well, this group of folks said, watch my beer and hold this, we'll show you. It is bad. But Bowtech. Any of you see the new Bowtech bows? There's one right here. There's one at my house. I don't know which staff, who they sent this one for. I've been lying and telling the crew it's mine. They sent me a second one. Said, your crew need a bow? Okay. So go to Bowtech Archery and check out their stuff. And if you follow their Instagram page, apologies for what happened on their Instagram page yesterday. That was not good from what I heard. Loophole, they support everything we do. If you want to get a discount on your Loophole optics, go to the Go Hunt Gear Shop, put them in your cart, and when you check out, use either promo code Randy or promo code DQ. Yeah, Delta Queen, DQ. Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, huh? They're coming out with some new stuff this year. Go there if you want to save money there. 15% off when you use promo code Randy. Oh, let's see. What else we got here? Oh, someone's asking, is Michael selling that bow? How did we get on this kick about Michael selling all of our gear? I can't remember, but now everybody thinks that Michael is selling all of our gear on Craigslist. Or maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe that's how it started. This is an interesting question. I think it's a really good one. It comes from someone in Colorado who's asking me about what I think the future of elk hunting will be in Colorado. That we've got more people out in the hills. I don't care what activity it was in the last year. There were way more people out in the hills. Well, Colorado has over-the-counter elk hunts, OTC, for their second and third rifle hunt. And the person saying that it was really crowded there last year, and I don't doubt that it was. I hunted the first rifle season, which is a limited entry draw. He's asking me if all these other states reducing tag numbers to non-residents, is that just going to push more people to Colorado? It might. Colorado is so generous and hosts more non-resident hunters than any other state, and has state A, B, C, D, and E. If they start reducing non-resident percentage, how much of that's going to get deflected to Colorado? I don't know, but I think it's definitely a worthwhile consideration. Can I use promo code Randy at Cabela's? No, you can't. Or you can try, but I don't think that's the case. So Brent Danielson says, Randy, I fault all states where the bulk of the state's wildlife require federal land. I am one of those co-owners. Because of this, you cut Wyoming and the other states far too much slack. No, I don't, Brent, and here's why. Where that wildlife is standing has nothing to do with its ownership. Zero. That's what those court cases said. This was a private landowner in those cases wanted to say, I have an interest in that wildlife because it's standing on my land or it exists on my land. And the court said, no, it doesn't. Wildlife is a transient asset, much like water. And so those court cases went back to old Roman law and used what was called the public trust doctrine. So think about it this way. If we want to make the case that we're all owners of some federal land and therefore we should have rights to the wildlife standing on that, the same would apply to private landowners. Would you advocate that under that same principle you expressed, we should give private landowners the right to manage and sell all of the wildlife that's on their lands? No, it doesn't work that way. No matter where the wildlife exists, private land, public land, state land, federal land, it doesn't matter. It's held in trust by the state. And the ownership of the land on which the wildlife exists is completely irrelevant. Now, some states make accommodation for that by saying, hey, we understand that wildlife has an impact on private lands, and therefore they have programs, game damage programs or landowner programs, landowner tag programs, stuff like that. So, a lot of people make that assumption that somehow where the wildlife lives connects where that opportunity to that wildlife should be, and that's not the case. So, let's see. Do you think there's anything non-residents can do about Colorado introducing wolves? I don't think there is, but Colorado Parks and Wildlife warned people, hey, it's going to be a long time before we get this whole wolf program going, which was good to hear that they're going to take some time with it, but there's already wolves moving into Colorado from Wyoming. If they drag their feet, there's probably still going to be wolves in Colorado that just come down from Yellowstone and Wyoming and stuff like that. But I don't know. Hopefully, hopefully they will have a chance to manage them in Colorado. But I'm not holding out great hope. So Brent wants to keep arguing with me about this point about who owns the land and who owns the wildlife. He says, Randy, you're missing my point entirely. As a hunter that cannot expect to hunt that wildlife on my land, I'm not going to support others doing so. Well, good luck with that. I mean, that's almost like saying I'm not going to let people go and hike and camp and fish on there. I get people being frustrated about it, but that's the way the law is in the United States. And we'll kind of leave it at that. Let's see. First year elk hunting. Going to Colorado for an over-the-counter this year. Would you add a bear tag or just focus on elk? No, just focus on elk. And this is my own personal experience. Every time I've went and tried to do a combination hunt and involve a whole bunch of different things, it's a train wreck. I do all of them poorly. And if this is your first elk hunt, you're going to need to be on the top of your game with every bit of energy you have. Go elk hunting. Save the bear thing for some other day. That's just my thoughts. Randy, I want to know how those wolves taste. You guys tried some, right? Paul had shot a mountain lion, so we had that at the same time. Everybody knew mountain lion was excellent. And those who ate some of Paul's agreed it was absolutely excellent. And then the wolf that we ate, I destroyed in the sous vide, trying to get the internal temperature up high enough. I had read all these articles, had all this fear, all these problems about, wolves have these diseases. They're a bunch of nosis, N-O-S-I-S is what they end with. There's a whole list of them. And everybody's like, all right, you got to get your internal temperature over 165. So I'm like, all right. I don't want anybody to tip over or get the hooboo from me not cooking that wolf properly. So I put that sous vide to 170 and I left it in there for 4 hours. When we pulled it up, it was tougher than a whale blubber, man. It was like, whew. But the flavor was very mild. I think if I served you a spring black bear that had been in the den all year after eating gut piles, and then I served you some of that wolf, just from a flavor standpoint, you would say, I want that, and you would point to the wolf. So I'm going to keep doing it. If I ever shoot another wolf, I'm definitely gonna eat it. I was Brody says trick feels great. Yeah, sure it does. Yeah. So if I had one thing to change in the last 10 years of elk hunting, what would it be? Oh, wow. Personally or in elk hunting as an activity? If I could change something personally, it would be when I missed a really big bull elk in Arizona when I had to film myself. Matthew and Brad, the camera guy, go this way because we're sure that's where Big Hank is at. We'd seen him the day before. And I'm going to make this big loop around, and I'm going to push him over there in case he's there. I show up, and there he is, 300 yards across the canyon, and I got to film myself. And I got this little window I'm filming in, and when I go to shoot, I don't have a shooting lane, so I move off about 20 yards, find a shooting lane, and just as I get ready to shoot, the bull starts walking out of frame. So I got to run all the way back over here and readjust the camera because the camera guy said, when he handed me this little camera, he said, if I hear a gunshot, there better be footage on this camera. So I run all the way back over there, and in all this, I forget about a crosswind. And if you saw the footage, you see twice, he was quartering away. Right, I mean, like, right there. So I'd change that. In a bigger sense, I would just say we are more bold and fearless in trying to build a bigger pie for elk hunting. Let's put more elk on the landscape. Let's figure out how we get more elk. Because if we have more elk, that's more opportunity. And the more opportunity, the more advocates we have. So I think we should always be bold and fearless when it comes to advocating for wildlife and trying to put more elk on the mountain, more sheep on the mountain, more deer out in the hills. As I'm getting older and older, that's probably the one thing that I have some, I don't know if regret is the right word, but just wishes I would have, man, I wish I would have been a little bit firmer on this. I wish I would have pushed harder on that. So I don't know if that answers anything that's worthwhile, but that's my thought on it. Any hunts planned yet for 2021? I always got Montana deer and elk. We don't have the draw odds or the draw results yet. Anyone applying in Arizona who said, "Hey, my credit card was supposed to get hit last Friday," and they still haven't posted anything, haven't hit anything. I think they got a wreck on their hands down there. So Chase, this is a good one. This applies to me. Chase says, a son asks his father, can elk hunting make you a millionaire? And the father responds, why, yes, if you start out as a billionaire. You know, my wife would say he spends most of his money on hunting and fishing. And I would then follow and say, yeah, all the rest of it I wasted. If it wasn't on hunting and fishing, it probably wasn't money well spent. So that makes me laugh. I love that kind of stuff. One of the things you're going to find is recently, and you've heard this on Elk Talk Live here, I've tried to make things a little lighter hearted, and that's why I'm struggling so hard with all this legislative crap, because it drags you down, it wears you out. But we got to talk about it, because if we don't, we're going to wake up and we're going to look around and say, how the hell did that happen? What happened to our elk hunting? If you think the Wyoming bill is bad that we were just talking about, We got one in Montana coming up on Tuesday. I cleared my schedule. I'm going back up to Helena on Tuesday. There's a bill that says any landowner in a unit that is at objective who owns more than 640 acres is going to be able to sponsor 10 non-resident elk hunters. Yeah. 10 non-resident elk hunters. He gets to, I'm trying to sort out it. From reading the bill, it looks like he gets tags to sell. He gets the money. Because when you look at the fiscal note, it doesn't show any increase in revenue hardly to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. But maybe I'm reading that wrong. But anyhow, and it's the 10 hunters don't even have to hunt his acreage. They get to hunt anywhere in the district. So Brett, a good dude from Montana who knows this stuff, I mean, he is dialed in. He's shown how much or how many elk tags are going to get issued under that bill. All I can conclude is the folks in Helena absolutely hate elk. They want to kill elk 10 months out of the year. They want to kill them wherever they stand. And whoever has the land, I guess that's who gets to make the decision. So, it's called House Bill 505. If you are so inclined as a Montana resident, weigh in on House Bill 505. It's going to be in the House Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Committee Tuesday afternoon, March 9th. And if we lose that one, our elk hunting in Montana is going to forever change. I hate to sound that dramatic, but this is a shift in policy that takes us 179 degrees the other direction from how we've done things in Montana. So I'm not real happy about that one. And a couple weeks ago, you heard me talking about the Montana one where we were going to give 60% of the tags to outfitters, right? That all you non-residents would have to go through, 60% of you'd have to go through outfitters. That's been amended down now to 39%. And the bill is tucked away over there now because it's been amended enough. We're hoping that they're going to just kill it. That would be my hope. So Daniel asks, Randy, when is your first Civics for Hunters video coming out? I talked to Marcus today. He says it's at least 2 videos. We got a podcast that's coming out of it. And I don't know, he handed that off to you to edit, didn't he, Jonathan? When's it coming out? Tomorrow? Next month? Jonathan says as soon as possible. He's in charge of editing it. But what we're trying to do is to show people how this system works. How is it that legislatures can grab something we love, like hunting, specifically elk hunting, and every year or every other year, they try to mess it up so bad? So that's the idea. And teach you how you can engage and try to lower some of those hurdles so it doesn't seem like such an intimidating process. Because if there's one thing that a legislator fears, it's 5 or 6 of you who hunt together, show up at their office or at a hearing, well-informed, presenting yourself professionally, and you are determined. They're like, uh-oh, that's not what we wanted. We were hoping we could skate through here. We were hoping we could slide by and no one would show up. And when you and a group of your friends show up, that's when the fertilizer hits the ventilator, so to speak. I can't say the real term for that, so we just say fertilizer hitting the ventilator. And if you want to have your voice heard, if you want to make a difference, you have to learn how these processes work. And you and some of your hunting friends have to get together and say, you know what, we're not going to stand for this any longer. We're going to make a difference. And you will. Trust me, you will make a difference. So, let's see, what else we got? When will more fresh tracks be coming out on Amazon and Hulu? I'm not sure. We've set some dates, but the publishing date, we never know when Amazon's going to publish them. We put them out there, and sometimes they sit on them for 2 months. And then sometimes they turn them around in a day. So I think we've got 8 or 9 of them finished from last year that are going to go out. Well, we'll give them to Amazon pretty soon. When they'll publish them, anybody's know. Well, anybody, it's up to, nobody knows, I should say. Not anybody knows. But we're going to announce it when it happens for sure. Definitely. Will we do a loopholed CDS setup video? I thought we already did some out on our channel, but we'll put that on the list of things to look for off-season content. Let's see, what does that say? Oh, Eugene is commenting about how these hunting bills get introduced to legislatures. He says, somebody with influence wants these bills. The legislator must, most of the time, have no clue. They don't. That's a very good comment, Eugene. We have citizen legislators. They are average citizens. So a little bit of how this process works is the other side, the lobbyist side, the paid professional side, they take advantage of that. So I'm a CPA, right? If I somehow got elected to our legislature, they'd probably put me on the tax committee. But if they put me on health and human services or something else, I'd be lost. I'd have to look around and say, who can I trust on this? Who might fill me in? Well, that's how it happens on these game and fish issues. They stuff some people in the legislature and on some of these committees that don't know poop from soup. And so they're supposed to vote on it, and they're like, oh, I don't even hunt. I'm going to vote the way this person told me because they're going to vote for my bill, I'm going to vote for their bill. And I wish I could tell you that it was different than that. But it definitely is part of how it works in citizen legislatures. So let's talk some elk hunting now. We got to have some elk questions here. This one's an easy one. 7mm mag or 6.5 Creedmoor for elk? Not even a question. Give me a 7mm Remington mag. I wouldn't even, I wouldn't pause for not even 2 seconds about that one. Randy, any inside information on when the Arizona elk draw is going to be posted? And there's like 4 questions. It's like, I have no idea. I'm waiting just like everybody else. Randy, what's better, Leupold VX5 or VX6 for my 300 Win mag? They're both fantastic. The VX6, you can get a few more features on it. It's mostly the same glass, same coatings. It's just what features you want. You're going to be happy with either of them. Absolutely pleased with either of them. So, should Colorado go to all limited entry elk to manage the increase in population and the increase in non-resident participation? You know, that's up for Colorado residents to decide. But it wouldn't surprise me if someday the Colorado folks say that and they get rid of the over-the-counter elk tags for the 2nd and 3rd rifle season. It could happen. And I wouldn't, as someone who goes there and enjoys that experience, I would be like, oh darn, I wish that didn't happen. But I completely understand if they did it. The downside is in Colorado, they host so many non-resident hunters. They're going to have to figure out, how do you fund that agency? If you carve away all those people who are paying $668, what are you going to replace them with at, $50 resident or whatever? I don't know what the resident cost is, but so let's see. Someone says, the goofy New Mexico draw system, are you more likely to draw if you select 2 units that both have 6% odds, or one unit that has 1% and another unit that has 11%? Your better odds are going to be if you pick a unit that has 11%, because they look at all 3 choices. So I would go 1%, 6%, 11%. You get to look at 3. And then the answer is yes, all of them. So that's what I'd do. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is a good question. I just got a 270 I'm trying to hand load for elk. I have 140 grain nozzler partitions. Is that good enough for elk? Absolutely. The first 5 bulls I killed were hand loads, nozzler, 150 grain partitions out of a 270. Don't even worry about it. You make a good shot, that bull is not going anywhere. So, yeah. Let's see. As a non-resident in New Mexico, do you have better odds attaching your application to a resident in New Mexico? No, I don't even know if you can do that. But no, it doesn't improve your odds at all. Randy Newberg, do you eat venison every day? So far, 3 times this week. In the form of my wife's 1-alarm chili. My wife makes an amazing chili. It's on the New Mexico scale, it's only like 1 or somewhere between 1 and 2 alarm. But for me, it's like smoking hot. So she made it on Sunday. I had a big batch then, venison chili, and then I ate some leftovers on Monday, and then I polished it off today. So yeah, I'm doing my job to keep the inventory moving through the freezer at a reasonable pace. So, let's see. Ever try to go to South Dakota elk hunting? No, I haven't, because South Dakota doesn't let non-residents apply for elk. So I don't know how I could go do that. Just like North Dakota, they give away more moose tags than my state of Montana, but they give away 0 non-resident moose tags. That's up to them. They can do whatever they want with the wildlife in their state. So, let's see. Here's an easy one. Absolute slam dunk. Randy, what kind of Sitka gear jacket should I get for a 3rd season elk hunt in Colorado? A Jetstream. And then layer it up with whatever you need underneath it. No brainer. And get yourself a pair of pants that are called Timberline pants. That is my elk hunting uniform. You see me wearing that from about October 1st till December 1st. And I just add layers underneath as the temperature dictates. I've told the folks at Sitka, if you people ever get rid of the Jetstream and the Timberline, I'm probably just going to quit hunting. Well, no, I ain't going to quit hunting, but please, don't get rid of that. But, where was that one? I just saw one here. Dang it, what happened to it? They're going by so fast I can't read them all. Oh well. I'll go back to some of the Facebook and Instagram ones. What do I do with my old backpacks? I don't know. What do I do with them, Jonathan? Jonathan's like, I don't know. He's got one of them. I give them to the crew. So that's what happens with a lot of my stuff. Okay, here's a good one. This is strictly an opinion. Randy, for elk hunting, what state has your favorite draw system? And can you describe it? Yeah, it's 2 states. The system, not the non-resident percentages, but the system I love the best is New Mexico and Idaho, because there's no point system. And I do all these videos, right, about how this system works, how that state system works, how to draw here. I do that because it's a necessary evil, not because I'm a big fan of point systems. I've got, right here in Montana, I've got maximum points for moose, goat, and sheep. I would give all that away if we just go to a random, no point system. I've got tons of sheep points in Arizona and Nevada. You know what? Get rid of your point system. I'd walk away from all those points. I would. So I know some people are going to be like, whoa, this guy, he's lost his mind. I think point systems build false expectations. It builds the expectation that somehow we get something. And then every 4 or 5 years, the system tweaks this way, changes that way, does this, does that. What you're buying today when you get into those point systems is completely different sometimes than what it is 5 or 10 years from now. You know what? What's more fair than, hey, I decided to apply this year. You got the same odds as everyone else who decided to apply this year. That's fair. Everyone's got the same chance. But the reason we have point systems is old gray-haired guys like me go to their legislature and convince legislators that you should slant the table this way because the pie is this big. For each drawing here, there's X number of tags. And if the old gray-haired dudes like me say, what, our legislator came up with a plan, we can get a bigger pie. Guess what? If our piece is bigger and the pie stays the same, everyone else gets a smaller piece. I hate it. So I like the fact that I don't like New Mexico allocating only 6% to non-residents, self-guided non-residents, and 10% to guided folks. I don't like that, but I like the fact that they don't have a point system. Same with Idaho. They don't have a point system. So you asked, that was an opinion, right? You guys know if you ask questions here, sometimes it's going to be an opinion. And that was an opinion. So be careful what you ask for. Don't ask a question if you don't want to hear the answer. Someone asked, does Go Hunt have the drawing stats for California? Yes, it does. What's the easiest state to get a tag for wolf? Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. They're over the counter. Montana, you can get 5 of them. Idaho, I think you can get 10 of them. So, someone's saying something about how old I am. What's that about? Someone says, hush, be quiet. 56 isn't that old. No, it's not. I'm 56. I hope I'm not that old. Maybe I am. Randy, you should hunt moose more. Have you ever shot a moose? I've shot 2 of them. One was in British Columbia. It was on our channel. Lucked out. A great big one walked by. That was just pure luck. Someone says, Randy, I see you're going to be at the Portland Sportsman Show. Can you explain what you're planning to do? Yeah. They have me up on a stage every day for an hour or 2 doing a Q&A, almost like Elk Talk Live, but in person, talking. And the Q&A is all about public land elk hunting for 4 days in a row. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No. Let me see on that one. Maybe they got me doing 5 of them. 4 or 5 of them. Anyhow, every day of the show, I'm going to be there. But because of COVID and all the other requirements, we got to stay distanced, right, and do all that stuff. So that's why they have me up on stage. So I already had COVID. I am not completely over COVID. I got a funky heartbeat that's going on, and I'm going to the doctor next week because I got some lingering COVID issues, even though I'm not coughing and hacking. But every time I try to start working out again, it feels like my heart's going to blow up. This ain't right. So hopefully the doctor doesn't do anything to me before I get to Portland. But I wouldn't want to give any of you COVID. So I'm happy to do whatever the thing is that they say we got to do there. Let's see. How's Uncle Larry? He's doing great. How's the buffalo bison population in Montana? It's not that good. Not that good at all. But if you want to apply, they just opened up the drawing for them. Bison, moose, goat, and sheep drawing opened up Monday. So you can apply in Montana. You might luck out like I did in 2013 and draw. Oh man, they're good eating. Oh man, they're good eating. Do you know of any places that disabled people can hunt out west? Yeah, I would say New Mexico. I tell everybody, New Mexico has the best mobility impaired hunts of any state. Hands down, it's not even close. So go out to New Mexico, go to their website and check out, they call them MI, mobility impaired. And they have the best season dates in their best elk units. They have in their best antelope units, mobility impaired hunts. So go check out those, and I'm hoping you draw. So How does one who lives in the East or the Midwest e-scout lower point units, in other words, easier to draw units that are checkerboard with block management, BLMs, hunter walk-in areas, and private like you find in Montana and Wyoming? Uh, Actually, it's pretty easy. You get the maps that show where the block management area is, or where the walk-in hunting area is, or where the HMA, the hunter management area is, and you just start e-scouting them. It's like, all right, where are the things that the animal needs at the time I'm going to be hunting? Whether it's elk, deer, antelope, the same principle applies. We talk about it in elk with the 5 calendar periods: early, pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut, late season, and then the 4 needs: food, water, sanctuary, and breeding. Same 4 needs apply for deer and antelope. They have the same 5 calendar periods. They fall in different times of the year, but the same principle applies. So when you know what that animal needs at the time your tag is good for, you can e-scout and look and say, oh, well, they're on a feed pattern at that time. This is the best feed. I'm going to go over here. I'm oversimplifying, but it's not that hard. The access part of it is usually going to be the biggest challenge because, like you said, if it's checkerboard or something, it's like, well, how do I get back to this spot? And you got to sort that out. Pick one state to hunt as a non-resident elk hunter, purely for opportunity. Which state would you choose? Well, that depends. It would depend on if I preferred archery or rifle. If I didn't live in Montana, people always ask me this, how would you allocate your elk hunting budget if you didn't live in Montana? If you lived back where I grew up in Minnesota? It'd be a toss-up between my first 2 choices, Arizona and Wyoming. Depending on what happens with the Wyoming bill this week, it might be a clear advantage to Arizona and then Wyoming. But I say that because I like to rifle hunt. I like to archery hunt too. But the late rifle season and seasons in Arizona, you can draw every 4 to 6, 7 years. And for the quality of the hunts they have, that's remarkable. And almost all their elk are on public land. So unlike Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, you don't have a lot of public, private, and kind of trespass. Can I get to it? Can I not? You don't have those issues very much in Arizona. So, and there's a lot of other things I can go do with that license. So, Bill says, I'm 63. I'm new to hunting and I have no points. Finally have a little money to spend. What would you recommend for an elk hunt? At 63, and this might be counter to what a lot of people think, I would apply in a bunch of these draws. Surely New Mexico, because you say you don't have any points and they don't have a point system. I'd think about Idaho. I'd think about Montana. Those are 3 states that Montana, even if you have 0 points, your odds of drawing the elk tag are like 60-some%. So those are 3 options right there that I'd consider. And if you're new to hunting, don't cross off the idea of going with an outfitter the first time or 2. I refer a lot of people to outfitters because they say, Randy, I love what you're doing. I see it. I'd love to go do it, but I don't have the gear. I've never done it before. I've never been out west. Hey, go get your feet wet. Have someone show you the ropes. Don't worry about that, and just go and hunt. That's the important part. Let's see. If you could hunt with any one person who is no longer alive, who would it be? That's a hard one because it's a toss-up between a bunch of family members who are no longer with me. My dad, my grandpa's got an uncle that was one of my favorite hunting and trapping buddies. Don't make me pick between any of us, but I would take any of them. That's who I'd want to go back and hunt with. But do I find any truth to the concept that elk and other big game in areas like Wyoming do not taste as good as the old Iowa whitetails due to the game eating all the sage? Some locals were telling me that relates to their elk and mule deer. That must be because I don't know how to take care of it. I hear the same thing about pronghorn. You know, I'll share it with this crew here. I'll share my elk, but I'm not sharing my pronghorn. Because the pronghorn, you don't get very much meat out of it, and it's better than elk. But I've heard all that same old horse hockey. It's, maybe I've been lucky. Maybe I've, in all the elk and all the pronghorn that have ever went through my freezer, I'm the lucky guy in the Western United States who's never had a bad one. I don't think that's the case. I think that some people just like to say that. I think it's a barstool rumor. And I've shot elk and mule deer and pronghorn living in the sage, and they taste fantastic. In fact, if you shoot one that's living in the sage and I'm nearby, let me know. I'll come and gut and gill it for you. I'll process it, and I'll take it home and eat it for you. I'd hate for your buddies to lead you astray. But then when you tasted some of it, you'd be mad at your buddies. You'd be like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. So, no, I've never experienced that. So Dave, he said that his Colorado pronghorn from this last year was amazing, and I believe he was out in Colorado in a spot where there's a lot of sage. Oh, let's see. Send me some pronghorn. No, I ain't doing that. I might send you ice cream, but I ain't sending you pronghorn. Where else we got here? A lot of people ask me about the Arizona trail camera rule. That I don't know if they finalized that or if they're still talking about it. But Arizona is talking about putting some limits on trail cameras. And I just finally got some trail cameras from Stealth Cam. Yeah, I had Jonathan and Paul, these guys, were doing a video series that Jonathan and Dale are in charge of about, it's backyard to backcountry. We're out setting out cameras this time of year just to see what's out there. So I don't really know much about them. These guys are, I've got one of them sitting on my desk over here because I know so little about them. I'm like, what does this button do? What does this mean? So I really don't have an opinion because I've never owned one until now. But Stealth Cam sent us a bunch and said, hey, take them out in the woods, show people how good these work, and get some footage. So, okay. So Ted Hendricks says, Randy, take care of your heart. Don't push it until your doctor clears you unless you want your crew to backpack a defib machine. Oh, thank you. I'll make note of that. That sounds like something my wife tells me. I'll be out shoveling snow. I'll come in and, man, my heart just is not right. I'll call the doctor. All right, whatever. Us guys, we're kind of bullheaded. Steven says, have you spoken about the bill to reduce Wyoming tags? Yes, we did. We spent the first 15 minutes talking about that. Sorry about that. So go back and watch the early part of the video and you'll be able to jump in on all that. Let's see. Randy, if you shot a 6x6 that was clearly going downhill because of wounds from fighting, keep the antlers or turn it in for another tag? Oh, it was going downhill, like because he was sick and dying. I thought like he was walking downhill. I'm like, what? Okay. I don't know. I'd look and see if the meat was salvageable. And if it was, I'd keep it and go from there. I don't know. That's always a hard one. Let's see. All right. Michael says, Randy, when you had your chili experience in Magdalena, the shop story of the 5-alarm chili in New Mexico, were you hunting Unit 17 or Unit 13? My buddies and I have a bet going. Well, if you bet on Unit 17, you're the winner. So, I don't know. Let's see. Have you heard any update on the New Mexico anti-trapping and hunting rights bills? I have not. I'm so tired of anti-trapping bills. It just drives me nuts. And I just say that because I grew up trapping. We were out last month, and we did, in fact, I reviewed the first episode today. We did a bunch of muskrat trapping, some beaver trapping, and I've blocked out the last week of March. I got 5 days of beaver trapping on my calendar, and Marcus is going to be cooking them beaver. You guys interested in trying some beaver? Yeah. Beaver's actually really mild, so I wish I had an update on those, but I don't. Frustrating when all this legislation and ballot initiatives and everything affect hunting, fishing, trapping, the things that we enjoy. Let's see. What else we got? We got to have a really good one somewhere, don't we, guys? One that you guys been saving one for me? Are there any of the partners that I forgot to talk? Oh, Mystery Ranch backpacks. If you want a Mystery Ranch pack, go to Go Hunt, go to their gear shop, use the promo code Randy, and you'll save 10%. And if you, here's some others. If you draw an elk tag this year, or if you just want to learn more about elk hunting, my buddy Corey Jacobson has the University of Elk Hunting. Go to elk101.com, use promo code Randy, he'll give you $20 off. Elkhorn Coffee Roasters, they got this big Hank blend. Now they got singles. I don't know if I've shared any with the crew. Have you guys been trying any of the singles? Oh, okay, I have. Maybe it's because I didn't bring any in here. But anyhow, go to Elkhorn Coffee Roasters, use promo code Randy, and you get 15% off any order over $30. Black Gold Tight Spot Ripcord, go to Go Hunt. They carry all that, save 10%. Oh, Kennetrek boots, use promo code Randy and get a $75 pair of gaiters. So I think we covered them all. Oh, look at that, huh? I see it pulling up here. Someone's showing the Elkhorn coffee. I guarantee you'll shoot more elk and bigger elk if you drink Elkhorn coffee. Guaranteed. But don't be like my Uncle Mike. We gave him some, and he got all hopped up, and he shot right over the top of this great big bull. He got himself all hopped up on some of that big Hank blend, and he couldn't handle it. He's a downstreamer. So, let's see. Come on, guys. What's the best remaining one here? Because we've kept people a long time. We got to find just like that piece of gold out here. Should we tell them what units we've applied for this year? And Paul's like, no. While these guys are looking, I'll answer this one from Nick. What would you recommend for your first Alaska hunt? It would either be Sitka black-tailed deer or black bear. The logistics are not quite as complicated, but they're still really, really good hunts and such a ton of fun. All right, let's see. Someone's got to have. Randy, have you ever hunted with Remy Warren? No. I talked to Remy quite a bit. Remy Warren's one of those guys that I'm not an Instagrammer, but I do follow Remy on Instagram. He's the real deal. And I know this might sound like homeboy stuff, but he and I graduated from the same university. They call it Harvard on the Truckee. It's the University of Nevada, Reno. But Remy's a great dude. Go follow him on Instagram if you don't. And tell him Randy sent you. There's no promo code out there on Remy's Instagram page. Can I talk about what units I like to hunt in New Mexico? Pretty much all of them. I don't think I've been in an elk unit in New Mexico that was not a quality hunt. Even though I've been there a couple times on early archery hunts, and they were tough hunts, the hunt itself was really, really good. You could just tell it was a great place. It just didn't work out for us. So, well, maybe we'll take this one then. The person says, Randy, you hunt more than anybody I know. Doesn't your wife really miss you when you are out hunting this much? You know, that's a good question. But the reason that we're able to do these platforms is because of my wife. My wife is the most unbelievable, supportive woman in the world. And she knows when to push the right buttons. If she thinks that I'm getting a little too full of myself, she'll bring me back to earth. And if she thinks that the legislatures or the critics have me down, she knows how to pump me up. And if I'm getting wore out and say, man, I'm just wore down. I can't do this anymore. Man, she knows how to give me a pep talk and just make me feel so small, like, oh, I can't believe I'm complaining. Here's how the pep talk goes. Oh, so you're just going to quit, huh? You're supposedly the big, all this public land stuff, and you're just going to quit. Well, you talk about all this not quitting stuff. And by then I'm like, oh, man. And she doesn't let up there. She's like, well, who else's wife is going to support you going and doing all this? You never bring a paycheck home from this operation, and I don't complain at all, blah, blah. And by the time she's done, I'm like wanting to run out the door and take on the gates of hell with a snowball, man. I'm like, all right, I love you, darling. You got me going again. So all of these platforms that we do are a function of passion and love for doing it, and proof that you can do whatever you want to do if you live in the greatest country in the world, if you put your mind to it. But if you're going to do it and do it in a sane way and have success, it requires a hell of a good partner along the way. And I'm below average at everything in life. I'm below average at hunting, but what's the Toby Keith song? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. In other words, everyone can have one good day. Well, my one good day when I must have really been at my best is when I talked my wife into marrying me. And when she said yes, I only gave her 5 days. I said, well, we're eloping this weekend. Because I'm like, she's likely to change her mind. I mean, she's up here, I'm down here. She might come to her senses. So that's been the blessing of my life. I'm blessed with a wonderful son, businesses, great employees. I'm blessed in so many ways, but the one that's been there for the last 32 years, helping me, pushing, quiet, behind the scenes. You've never seen her on camera, right? She refuses to be on camera. When the crew comes out to shoot anything at the shop or the house, she's like, I better not end up on camera. Don't worry, honey. Not going to happen. So, anyhow, my best elk hunting aid is all of the encouragement and the assistance from my wonderful wife, Kim. So, love you, honey. Thank you. But since nobody else came up with another question, what are we going to do? What do you guys got, man? I guess we'll see you next week. That's what we're going to do. Thanks for being here. Don't forget the deadlines. Tomorrow is Utah. The 17th is New Mexico. And then we'll remind you of the other ones